Ramon and I recorded a session about a month ago now, which we couldn't publish because there was so much hum coming out of one of his outboard units that we had to scupper it because the soundtrack was useless. One of the components of that was I did a quick kind of tutorial, revelation if you like, thing about the sound that the Edge gets in U2. And I thought I'd just revisit that and fill this in to another video that we're doing. Lots has been written about this and about how he gets the sound, how he does it, all the rest of it, because it's an amazing sound. I mean, the Edge is, in many ways, the least kind of widdly technical great guitarist on the planet, but the man's skill in composition and using sound is just as important as somebody who can shred and fly all over a fingerboard. He's an exceptional musician, exceptional composer, exceptional guitarist. He's just really different. And the U2 sound is absolutely fundamentally based around his guitar playing. Now, lots of people have written lots of stuff about this, and they probably know a lot more about what they're talking about than I do. Some people have effectively done almost like university dissertations on this stuff. All I'm going to do here is show you a couple of things that will enable you to get this kind of sound really accurately, really well, very quickly, out of very simple cheap gear, and so you could gig it in your kind of covers band tonight if you really wanted to. So this is not going to be a detailed, learned competition for all the great work that's been done, most of which I have to say I think is a bit confusing. Some of it's downright wrong, like a lot of stuff is on the internet, but hey, hopefully you'll find this quite right. So I'm just going to play a bit of, first of all, that's what we're going to be doing. First thing is, let's talk about the sound that the Edge gets without echo, okay? His signature sound tends to revolve around Vox AC30s, and when they're overdriven, they have this kind of bright but lovely compression. The way I'm getting that through my trusty Fender Deluxe reissue today, which is set at very low volume. It's set at about 1. It's set just talking volume. So no distortion, no drive. The way I'm getting that is that in my Boss MS3 multi-effects, I've got a treble boost patch with just a little bit of grit in it, and I've got a limiter which I'm using like a compressor. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of that bitey sound to start with that the Edge gets. Okay, that's the input. The next thing, and there's a little bit of reverb on the amp, always. Right, let's talk about delays, because that's what this video is all about. To get the Streets Have No Name sound, I use a single delay, and you can get to this two ways. You need to do a little bit of maths here. If you're lucky enough to have an effects unit that enables you to put in beats per minute, that's really useful, because it kind of means you can change everything according to what the drummer's doing, especially if you've got a tap tempo button. It means your drummer can actually start the song off, and if he starts it off in a time that isn't exactly like your echoes, it would normally be disaster because your echoes would be bouncing around out of time with the drums. But you can actually just tap your foot on your effect in time with your drummer, and you can sync your effect, your Edge effect, to the drummer, which means he doesn't have to play with a click, which if you're playing in a pub, you don't want to have a drummer playing in a click. If you're using beats per minute, quick tutorial here. U2 use a lot of song tempos around about 120 beats a minute, and that's very convenient because 120 beats a minute is 2 beats a second. That means every beat lasts half a second. In fact, every quarter note lasts half a second. So if you were programming a delay, that's your anchor point, if you like. Now the Edge uses a thing called dotted eighth note delays. What that means is an eighth note, if a quarter note is half a second, an eighth note is a quarter of a second, or 250 milliseconds. Put a dot next to that note, and it adds half of the length of that note again. So that's half of 250, which is 125. add that to 250 and you get to the magic number of 375 milliseconds. So, if you haven't got tap tempo delay, you can set your echo unit for about 375 milliseconds. If you haven't got a digital display or any of it, you'll have to do it by ear, but you basically, that's the kind of time feel you want. And you should be able to set it up so, a slap echo like that, so it's about 50, 60 milliseconds. And a kind of Guitar Hero echo, ding, ding, that's about 650, 750 milliseconds. So somewhere between the two is what you're looking for. So you set up a delay for 120 beats a minute, dotted eighth note delay, or about 375 milliseconds. That's your delay. You want about, it depends on your unit, but you want enough feedback to give you, yeah, that's about it, about 4 repeats and then fades out. Any more it gets too mushy. And the most important thing is you want the effect level to be nearly as high as the original guitar sound, okay? So the first echo should be as loud. In other words, you're going to use the echo much, much louder than you would if you were enhancing a lead guitar solo, where you have the echo mixed right down, otherwise it just mushes everything up. When you're playing this kind of stuff, you want the echo really loud. So, to recap, 120 beats per minute, dotted eighth note, delay, in my case about 15-20% feedback, and effect mix almost 100%, 85 say. That's it. And then, now hopefully I can do this, because yeah, I've programmed into my delay, so I can switch the echo off and on while I'm playing it, okay? As this is just the Streets Have No Name type, which we were sort of playing before. That's with it off. And that's with it on. It's as simple as that. You're playing this very simple. Sorry, here we go. You play with the plectrum if you want. Indeed, the Edge plays with the plectrum and he gets a slightly pickier, more percussive sound, so I'm not doing that right. So, that's it. I'll grant you, it's a knack to be able to play against this rhythm. But once you get the knack, it's really, really easy. And what this does, if you play this in a band, right, you'll take over. First of all, you've got a drone note. So I'm just playing a D major here, with an open D note on the 4th string. That's all I'm playing. So if you play this, the drone note will give you a kind of accompaniment and bass, or almost a keyboard drone. The guitar bit will give you the guitar sound, but the echo bit will give you the percussion. And if you play this in a 3 or 4 piece band, you will sound enormous. So that's how to play something like The Streets Have No Name. Now, there are all kinds of things on the internet about complicated double and treble delays and stuff. But the funny thing is that this very same setting actually works pretty well on the slow one as well. Like, so rather than getting stuck in with having loads of different patches in your gear or twiddling knobs on the fly all the time, I just set up one really good echo in your unit and leave it and switch it in when you're doing U2. I have put together one other patch for you as well, which is slightly more complicated, and it's my absolute all-time favourite bit of U2. I think it's one of the most heroic bits of rock band performance I can recall. There's a live version of them doing a song called Bad, in which Bono clearly channels his Mick Jagger, because he actually puts a couple of lines from Ruby Tuesday in at the end. And it's one of the Edge's greatest sounds. It is slightly more complicated as an echo, because it's actually, unlike what I've just played you, which is a simple single mono echo. Oh, by the way, if you've got a little bit of modulation in your echo unit, so you can make the pitch of the echoes drift a little bit, that's another of the Edge's tricks, and I've been using that. So if you have got that modulation, switch it on. It's quite common these days. You can get it in fairly cheap echoes. It comes in a TC flashback. It's got mod delay. I think even a carbon copy, an MXR carbon copy has got it. So I'm not talking about exotic posh gear here. You're talking about 70 quid echo pedals. This one's slightly more complicated. This is a dotted eighth and a quarter note echo, which is the nearest I can get. I don't think it's entirely right, but bear in mind that the Edge does play with a rig that is the size of an industrial boiler. Probably 2 industrial boilers. It's certainly bigger. His rig is bigger than most of the venues I've ever played. He's got enough echo units in there to, knock a whole continent out. This is for us mortals, who just do simple stuff and want it quick and easy and on the fly and great sounding. So the bad sound that I put together, I'll use a pick, and I'm probably going to flap up all the notes now because the picking pattern is slightly complicated. But he basically starts off with an A drone, it's just A and D again, and then this echo is really good when you go and switch the echo off if I can. That's what I'm playing. With the echo. So you can see, again, it just makes you sound pretty good. So that is, again, that's about 120 beats per minute. That's a dotted eighth note and a quarter note. Both mixed in pretty much the way I described for the first one. Pretty similar. You can fiddle around with the mixes a little bit if you like. That's up to you. But that's really straightforward. And you can do that, again, you can do that with an awful lot of pedals. The worst thing is you might have to use 2 pedals. That's the worst thing. But most multi-effects these days have got, any of you that are using helixes and stuff like that, you'd be able to program multiple echoes and stuff like that. And there you have it, viewers. That's a very quick tutorial into how the Edge gets his sound, or at least I get his sound good enough for pubs. I'm going to forward this little section to Ramon because I hope in the video, what I'm going to do is if I send it to him and say, look, here's how to do it. Now, go away and learn it, and you can show us if you can pick it up and do it in the next video of which this is a part. So we'll see if we can incorporate that. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll rejoin the main video stream.